So One Nation is calling for the genetic testing of Aboriginals. Let's have a look. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Heiser Says. I thought we'd have a look at this article from NITV, the Indigenous version or slant from SBS, about One Nation's call for Aboriginal people here in Australia to prove their ancestry with DNA testing to address apparent welfare frauds. Now, what attracted me to this article was the fact that my wife has a secret, not really so secret, pleasure in watching people who take these genetic tests and who respond badly when they find it out. Let's have a look at a tiny little clip here just to show you what she loves watching. And she'll watch these things for like the whole hour episode. Okay, here we go.
Pleasure that I report our matriclan analysis determined your maternal lineage to be of European ancestry.
European.
So you can see there's a lot of that online, guys, where people are getting these genetic tests done and are finding out that they're not the black rights activist pure blood that they thought they were, that they may be European. And I just picked that example because I think she had 6 million views on a video, and I'll link to it in the description if you'd like to watch the full thing. But I'm sure there's examples of, white supremacists as well discovering that they've got some African in them. And yeah, so let's have a read through this article because genetic testing and DNA testing is becoming more and more popular. I actually want to do it myself to learn about my heritage for dietary reasons. So the far-right political party One Nation says welfare frauders and opportunists are falsely claiming Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander ancestry and now want commercial testing introduced to determine the DNA percentage of anyone identifying as Indigenous. So there's a few things I'd like to pull apart. First, I don't think you can really claim One Nation is a far-right party, considering you have the former leader of the Labour Party involved in their party. And Pauline Hanson, sure, she's a bit controversial, and in the past she was concerned with immigration. She is still today, but, her famous speech about Australia being flooded by Asians, that was, 20 years ago? And what's happened, So I question the fact that they're painted as far-right, honestly. I'd say they'd certainly be a right-leaning party, and we'll go through some of their policies in another video. But the government wanting DNA testing, in some ways it's worrying that the government will want your DNA, but they can already take it, and the percentage of anybody identifying as Indigenous, because there is an opportunity there to take advantage of the system. So let's have a read. One Nation's New South Wales leader Mark Latham wants First Nations people to prove their heritage by undergoing DNA ancestry testing. In a media release this morning, the Fringe Party said blue-eyed and blonde-haired people claiming to be Aboriginal weakens the integrity of the Indigenous racial group. I don't think there's anything wrong with blue-eyed and blonde-haired people. What do you got against them, Mark? Or maybe the fact that they're claiming welfare is the problem. The media release also suggested the motive behind such identification was for the express purpose of qualifying for extra money. Yeah, well, I can attest to my own encounters with Indigenous people that we're getting a lot of perks and bonuses at QUT when I was there. And this is before they started kicking whites out of computer labs. To meet the government's current criteria for identifying as Indigenous, a person must be of Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander descent, identify as Indigenous, and be accepted as Indigenous by the community in which they live. Proof is often a requirement to access some government services that have been customised to suit Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, cultures, and cultural circumstances. Yep. Some of those services don't even exist for non-Indigenous people. If you have a look at my interview about the reality of Minterby, I'll put a card to it right here. The young lady who is sharing with me her experiences complains about the fact that there isn't even any opportunity for public housing in Coobapedi unless you're Aboriginal. There you go. See, that's obviously an example where it's customized for their unique where is it? Customized for their cultural circumstances, because there aren't any white people in Cooper Pedy who might need public housing. Yep, sure. The three-part definition became the culturally accepted standard in the 1980s, in preference to earlier classification systems which relied on the racist pseudoscientific science of eugenics through a calculation of blood quantum. Oh, well. One Nation New South Wales has proposed to abolish self-identification and introduce a new system relying on DNA ancestry testing, with a result requiring a finding of at least 25% Indigenous before First Nation identification is accepted. Wow. What do you think about that in the comments, guys? Do you think that's fair? Do you think, 25% is a reasonable amount? If you've been... Really, if your percentage is only 25, you'd imagine that you'd be involved in cultures that are not purely Indigenous, just purely by your genetic legacy. Is that an incorrect assumption to have on my behalf? What do you think? Do you think it's fair? We've all heard of what if you're 1064th%? Do you get a portion there? You know what I'm talking about. In the highly unlikely scenario the policy is endorsed by New South Wales Parliament, it is unclear how the plan might function, given that Indigenous recognition is largely a federal issue. The system of Indigenous self-identification, declaring Aboriginality without any bloodline or DNA proof, has been open to widespread abuse, claimed the party. Well, yeah, that does sound like it is open to widespread abuse. The problem is, with the rise of identity politics and socialism, it now becomes beneficial to claim a victim identity for monetary and utility gains. No one can argue with that. That's not a racist statement. I'm just saying that it's clear and there's a benefit to it. If you don't think there is, go have a look at all the services that are offered to particular people. Go have a look at the jobs at the ABC, which are screened based on your gender or based on your race. Okay? Look at the Anti-Discrimination Act, which allows for the discrimination of particular groups of people to benefit other groups of people that are seen as marginalized. See, my issue with a lot of this is that it's based on your race. It's based on identity and group. I would rather it be based on locality. So if you live in a shithole part of the country with no resources, or the government is screwing you over, then you've got access to certain facilities. Wouldn't that make sense? Or we've got parts of the country with so little infrastructure, maybe that's where you need to deploy the infrastructure to address the issues and not tie it to your race. It just seems antiquated to me. It seems similar to the eugenics argument before. It is being used as a fraudulent way of cashing in on welfare benefits, special Aboriginal programs, and land council largesse. A failed former Labor Party leader, Mark Latham, has rebranded himself over the past several years as an opponent of political correctness, but misogynistic and homophobic opinions have led to his dismissal from jobs at Sky News and Australian Financial Review. Sure. The latest comments from the One Nation Party are part of Mark Latham's campaign to win a seat in the upper house of the New South Wales Parliament in the March 23rd state election. And here we go. Does DNA testing prove Indigenous heritage? The prospect of using genetic testing to prove claims of Indigenous ancestry has been raised over the last 15 years, but so far has been dismissed on technical grounds. Only 2 companies offer Aboriginal testing, DNA Tribes and GTDNA. I think GDTNA is now shutting down, or DNA Tribes, one of these two is. In 2016, NITV highlighted the deep flaws in using this method to determine ancestry when journalist Andrea Booth and Rachel Hawkins both took tests with DNA Tribes. Booth, who is of East Asian and British ancestry, received results suggesting Central Australasian ancestry. Miss Hawkins, a proud Walpiri woman, received top matches for being of Portugal and Basque descent, her Indigenous ancestry being absent from the results. Okay, now, does this tell you that maybe your 2 reporters have genetic different DNA that's different to what they were told? You're finding, the more and more, if you look at these results on YouTube, people are finding out that their father isn't their father. Okay? They're finding out that mother had an affair years ago. All these secrets are coming out of the family closet. So what you're saying here, these results, it doesn't, maybe there's some secrets that their families need to look into rather than just dismissing the results. Just saying. I don't know who these people are. I've never seen a picture of them. And frankly, a picture probably wouldn't make any difference. If you're talking, that far back, East Asian and British ancestry, Central Australian ancestry. Yeah, how do you know there isn't some Aboriginal in there as well? I mean, come on, guys. What do you think happened hundreds of years ago? People had sex. Yep. To know that someone like myself, here we go, they're personalizing it, might contact this company to discover their ancestry and be given results we were not, we know not to be true. How do you know that? How do you know that it's not true? Oh, it's the same person. How does she know it's not true? How do you know? Maybe you've got maybe there's more to your family history than you think. I feel for our brothers and sisters who are part of the stolen generation, perhaps looking for some closure, only to be given results which say, you are not black. Yeah, well, maybe they're not. Maybe they're not. Maybe they should realize that this identity politics stuff is not going to lead anywhere. It's worrying. It really is. Guys, in some ways I think this is, it's concerning, there's only so much accuracy you can do with this. But I think, honestly, trying to address the chance that people can take advantage of these systems is something that needs to be considered. We'll see. We'll see if it gets in. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, guys. Are you for genetic testing for Indigenous Australians? Or are you against it? If you are for, let me know. If you're against it, please share. So, guys, thanks for joining me for this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe. Ding the bell to see my daily updates. I'm going to do 2 videos a day this month. And I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.